yeah, it's always nice when you get back to the car and you're putting away your bag and you see something off in the distance that stops you in your tracks. I put on my 100-400 and zoomed in on the trees. I don't know if you can be able to see them behind me here. It's just a bit of an atmospheric kind of thing, nice layers. So if that turns out to be any good, I will pop it up on the screen for you now. But this time, let's continue on the journey. Hello there folks, and how is it going? And welcome back to another video. And welcome to the Dublin Mountains. Now, I'm going to chop in a bit of footage. I'm just kind of anticipating the fact that I may forget to do this intro, because I actually came out to do an entirely different video, but when I arrived at this absolutely marvellous location, this wave of tranquility hit me and I figured I might as well stay here. My intention was, the idea of the other video was just to kind of bounce to a few different spots, but when I came here it was so great, and there was a couple of people in swimming, so fair play to them. So I am going to cut to when I arrived here. I am going to make reference to, and this is the next spot, but just disregard that bit because everything else that I say is quite relevant. It's always such a wonderful thing to be able to adapt and change when you go out to capture photographs, and this is certainly one of those instances where, you know, you come out with an idea in your mind and then you get to a place as gorgeous as this, and it just totally changes everything, and it's just so peaceful and so calm. It's just so wonderful, and that's ultimately now what I am striving to photograph, is this stillness and this calmness, and I hope I'm doing that justice. So I'm going to chop in a few extra bits that I recorded over across the way and on the way here, so like I say, and then I shall figure out where the pictures sit. I haven't done much talking here because I've been so absorbed in it all. It's just been so wonderful. So let's continue on. So here we are at the next spot, and you know, Orla and I, this place is like wonderful memories for Orla and I, as you will see, because it's absolutely gorgeous, because it's one of the only, well, not the only, but it's a very easily accessible mountain lake that's very popular for swimming. And yeah, it's really great time up here, particularly in the summertime, as you can imagine. It's wonderful. Or in the wintertime if you're daring. Now I wish I had brought some clothes. Swim clothes at least. But there is a small bit of snow left up here on the top of the hills, which we may be able to see or photograph. My idea is to try and capture some reflections, if I can, if it's still enough. But if not, there is a small stream, and it's much clearer here. Last time we were here, which was maybe 4 years ago, it was very overgrown and very difficult to walk in. So maybe they've made it a bit more accessible for folks instead. But there is a lovely little stream here next to me, which could work as a picture. Who knows? We're in no panic, we're in no rush. But let's get to the lake and let me show you that first, because it's gorgeous. So I am delighted that I came here, because it is proven to be absolutely wonderful. There are all these wonderful rocks, moss covered rocks in the water. Now there is a bit of movement in the water, but that's not so bad. I think these guys over here are about to get in for a swim, so fair play to them. And but I am trying my best to calm the water down. I've got a 3-stop on and my polarizer just to help cut through the glare, because it's quite glary. And I've taken a nice picture, very simple, very minimal, and I'm just going to explore a little bit more further on down if I can. And yeah, so it's beautiful. And if any of these pictures turn out to be any good, I will pop them up on the screen for you now. Welcome friends to the ASMR Photography Studio, and welcome to this week's lake exploration. I absolutely love this kind of image. Simple, clean, minimal. Really, really absolutely delighted that this is the first image I can share with you this week. For me, when I spotted it, I kind of got Zen garden kind of vibes, which I am absolutely in love with, and it bodes well for the rest of today's adventure. As I was plodding along through the mucky growth, I was so thrilled to spot this lakeshore edge, and its wonderfulness is so beautiful. This image, like probably most of these images we're going to look at today, are very quintessentially Irish as far as I'm concerned. Dead of winter kind of stuff, but I really, really love it. Its stillness and its tranquility are really what drew me to the frame, and I'm really, really delighted with how it all turned out. The colour, the little pop of green in there really sets it off very, very nicely, and of course the long exposure to smooth out that water gives it a really nice artistic kind of vibe. Really happy with this one. Now, while I intend to explore some more, I was over here where you would have just seen me, and the pictures that I took from over there, very minimal, very still, very lovely. And now I'm essentially looking back across at this scene, and to be honest, I think this is probably one of my favourite pictures that I've taken today so far, because it's really, really great, and I hope I can do it some justice in my classic ASMR photography lab, but it's just so wonderful. And I'm alone now. Those people, fair play to them, they were a good laugh, so cheers to you if you've watched the video. I did ask them, is it okay if I take a little video of them, but I'm alone now, and it's just so beautiful. This area here, there's all these rocks along the way. Essentially there's foreground for days. Now the mountain behind, if I may kind of keep rambling here at you, was obscured, but it's now starting to lift, and the clouds have even started to break, so you never know, we might get a bit of light. Now it does go behind the clouds, so that'll probably happen very soon, but the intention is just to stay and keep shooting. It's just so great here, so wonderful. So I'm so delighted that I decided to stay and make the most of it. To be honest, you could probably come back here and make 10 videos. There's so much going on, because I'm going to continue rambling here. You can actually continue along up this way and over the hill, and there's actually a second lake, the upper lake, and there's not as much going on there in terms of nice kind of foreground and all that kind of fun stuff. It's a bigger lake, and you can of course then hike up to the very top, which I'm pretty sure me and Orla did in the past. I'll have to ask to fact check that. And of course you would imagine the kind of views you would get up there looking over this lake. But for now, I am going to stop rambling, and I'm going to pop up this picture that I took for you now, and I really hope it turns out well, because I really like it. So let's have a look now. So this is the image that I created in all my joy and wonder. I really love this frame, and like the previous one that I mentioned, for me really just kind of screams Ireland. I absolutely love it. Its simplicity, the tranquil vibes to it, it all came together so wonderfully, and then the little hint of reflection that's in the water. Obviously smoothing out the water with a long exposure, you don't necessarily get super crisp reflections, but I really love the aesthetic that was created using this long exposure. Really delighted with how this image turned out, and again, cropping out the sky really helps kind of focus the frame and make it a more complete composition. Now there is a lot of unfortunate wind on the surface of the water, so I could imagine if we came here for a sunrise, which we may do at some point down the line, and if there was a bit of fog, forget about it, it'd be gorgeous. But for now I was just playing around trying to capture some reflections of the trees that are behind me now essentially, and now I have come up to find this really nice, very intimate scene, very minimalistic, just looking down through these rocks, and then the rocks below, using that circular polarizer to cut through the haze. Really like how that one turned out. So yeah, it's wonderful just exploring around here. I don't think the light is going to come out because the cloud is descending again on the hilltop, which is a shame, but sure, look, such is the way of things. It's very indicative to photography here in Ireland, is that it's lots of cloud, but nonetheless we are having a great time, and there's a few more people after showing up here now. No more swimmers, but really it's such a wonderful place to photograph, and I'm so delighted. I know I said that before, but I'm really delighted that I decided to stay, and yeah, going to continue exploring. So if any of these pictures turn out to be any good, I'll pop them up on the screen for you now. So this for me is a bit of a scouting test shot, we'll call it. While I do really love its composition, the movement across the surface of the water, that's too broken for me, the reflection. If you were to come up here early morning, for instance, or towards the end of the evening, it would just, you would hope you could capture some nice, still, crisp, clean reflections. And for me, this location really screams that. So I absolutely will be returning to this spot, preferably at a sunrise. Oh man, if you got some fog too, like I mentioned, you would be absolutely set. But overall, really delighted with how this image turned out. One thing I really love about being in the field taking photographs is capturing just abstract simplicity. And when you go out to photograph these wonderful vistas and seascapes and landscapes, it's always worthwhile so much just to look down and see what you can see. And this and the next image are a result of that. And I really love this first image we're looking at here, just flanked by that heavy green into that mysterious water. And I love the way that you can just see the rocks underneath the surface of the water. Really delighted with how this particular one turned out, and a good lesson in kind of depth of field too. The next image here now is again just something simple I was playing with, and as you'll probably can tell from the water surface, I really love this image. The framing of the tree above really just adds another kind of level to this image to me, and it's just its simplicity that really sing to me. I really love how this one turned out for sure. Pop of colour is just magic. You know when you find yourself in a situation where you're like, okay, that could be a good photograph, but it involves clambering and wonky tripod position. I know I need to use the polarizer, I know I need to use a neutral density filter, which means I need to bring my tripod, which means I may need to get my feet in the water, or at least the tripod's feet in the water. Essentially, it would be remiss of me not to take any kind of wide shot to kind of try and photograph the kind of scene, and this particular mountain here behind me. I'll pop up the name of the mountain. But I have found these lovely two rocks that will nestle very nicely as a nice anchor to the frame. I'm going to shoot a portrait orientation, but it's going to require some clambering, and I really hope the filters don't fall off again. Thankfully this is quite shallow and quite calm, so if they do, and it's not salt water, I'd be able to get them. But nonetheless, let me try and give you an idea of what we're looking at here. So, you see these two rocks? I essentially want to move them to here, as like a, an anchor to the frame, and I'm going to shoot it as a portrait orientation. But I then need to bring myself, let me don't walk off the rocks here, I need to bring myself onto this rock in order to do that. So let's see, I'm going to have to leave everything here, and I'm just going to take the tripod and I'm going to take the filters out of my pocket and bring the camera in my hand, and if I can manage to set it all up, then I'll jump back and grab the filters and not make the same mistake again. So let's see if we can set up this shot and see if we can make it happen. And it would be incredible if the light just broke through and then there was no wind on the water's surface. Anyway, but that's wishful thinking. But anyway, let me see if I can set this up and see where we can go from there. So here is the result of me clambering across all of these rocks, trying to position myself to get the image that I was looking for. Now, as you can tell, it just didn't really work for me. The rocks, I wasn't able to get the rocks. I essentially wanted to have more separation between the reflection in the mountain and the rocks, but I just couldn't get it. I just couldn't get it. Where I was positioned wouldn't allow me to get it, which is a shame, but it's definitely worth trying, and I'm delighted that I tried nonetheless. So, as I would have just explained for that last picture, it didn't really work. So that's okay, but I think I may have photographed maybe one of my favorite pictures so far this year. Now, I really like the one that we looked at earlier, looking across the water with the slight bit of reflection and stuff. But there's just something so surreal about this one. I have to show it to you. I'm super excited about it. I really hope I was able to do it right. And yeah, so if it turned out to be any good, I'm going to pop it up on the screen for you now. It's super duper delighted. Wow. This for me is really one of my favorite images that I have captured so far this year. It's just so wonderful. It's surreal, it's simple, it's clean, and wow, when I saw the reflections of the broken cloud in the water surface, I was like, I really need to find a way to photograph this in a very meaningful way. And I really love how this image turned out. Almost like a mountaintop peeking through clouds. But wow, I love its surrealism, and it's, oh wow, I'm just so happy with this, and definitely would make a nice looking print. But really, you know, it's the simple ones that can sometimes hit you the hardest, and for me this is certainly one of those. I really love this image. So what a wonderful surprise we have come across here now. I managed to find a picture that I was pretty much exactly looking for back there, but managed to get one that's actually kind of better. So wow, what an absolute result. I'm so happy with it. It took me ages to finagle the tripod into position, but nonetheless I managed it. So if this particular picture turns out to be any good, I promise this is the last one, then I will pop it up on the screen for you now. So I was delighted to have found the kind of image that I was ultimately looking for in terms of reflections of the peak. And this one for me, I feel, is a much stronger representation of what I was ultimately trying to achieve earlier on in the video. The rock placements act as such a wonderful leading line into the rest of the image. And of course then the beautiful reflection and the way we can just see the rocks under the surface as well. Really, oh wow, I'm super duper delighted with how this particular one turned out. It's just, again, like that depth of field image, this is a very good lesson in kind of leading lines and how they can potentially help draw you through a frame, almost making you want to hop, skip and jump across the stones and dive into the water. But really delighted with how this one turned out for sure, and a fine way to end such a wonderful day. So I think I shall leave it here, folks. What an absolutely marvellous turn of events this was. Hopefully captured probably two of my favourite pictures this year so far. But the cloud isn't breaking, so unfortunately there's going to be no light. So I'm going to head back to the car and head home, and let me just get across this crazy rock here. You know, it's great. There's a couple here taking some pictures as well, which were delighted with the tips I was giving them. So yeah, that leads me on. Segue of segues there, folks. If you are anyway inclined at all to come learn with me photography, I have some workshops organized and some one-to-one tuition organized, and you're most welcome to look in the description below. I have all that detailed. So loads of stuff on offer, and you're most welcome to check all that out and get in touch if you're anyway inclined at all. But what an absolutely marvelous location, and like I say, it's just such a surprise. You come out to do one thing and you end up doing a whole bunch of other things and capture some magic. So really super duper delighted. But for now, if you like the video, folks, do please hit that like button, and of course if you fancy, I don't know what way I'm going, if you fancy following along for more of these adventures, you're most welcome to hit that subscribe button. But for now, I will see you all in the next one. Take it easy, everybody. Cheers.